Hey guys, it's Jessica Youngblood. I just hopped on here to share my story. I'm from a very small town in Arkansas called Kirby, Arkansas. They were 32 in my graduating class. We were so large. My mom left when I was 8 months old. She left me with my dad. My dad's this redneck dad. He has a beard. He has a tractor. We grew up on land. We grew up on fried bologna sandwiches. He worked all the time, but he's a super amazing dad. But I don't really fit into that little lifestyle, like the redneck, like country. I was always eccentric, just different. Like, I love bright colors, as you can see. So I had an identity crisis at a very young age. For one, the one person who was supposed to love me, my mom, didn't, and she abandoned me in such a young age. So I had this deep embedded shame and guilt that if my own mother couldn't love me, what is wrong with me? And I think that just went on to try to be accepted by anybody and everybody. I started, I got this VHS tape that my dad had, and it was porn, and I was 10 or 11 years old when I first saw those images. And from that time on, I had this skewed vision, a skewed view of what love was, and I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to fit in, so I was going to do whatever it took to fit in. And so I studied those movies. I watched those movies like I was addicted to those movies. I was going to receive love no matter what it took me doing to get that love. And so at 12 years old, I started drinking. I started partying. I wanted to fit in. Again, this is the ringing theme of my life. I wanted to be accepted because my mom didn't accept me. And so at 15, boys started noticing me way early, but I was the teaser. I always, had control over the boys around me. I always wanted to get attention. I always wanted to be the center of whatever room I was in. And so I realized at a very young age the power I had over men, and I was going to utilize that. I wanted to hurt them as bad as I was hurting inside. I wanted to have power and control over my life because I never did. And so I started sleeping around at 15 with anybody and everybody, really. It didn't matter. I would go from the cowboy to the jock to the this person and that person, and I would have sex with them right away because I had to hook them. I had to get that power trip going. But then I would cheat on them. I would find somebody else that gave me more attention than them because they stopped giving me as much attention as I wanted. And so that vicious cycle just continued. The partying continued. It got worse. Like, I was just searching. I was just looking for value in everything and anything. I played basketball. That was great, but that ends, and that was my identity. And when that ended, I was like, I'm just going to be crazy. And so I was really good at being crazy. I started dating this guy. We ended up getting pregnant right away. And I was like, okay, well, I found something else to fix me. I found something else to want me. I'll just have a child, and I'll be an amazing mom. I'll be the mom my mom never was. How we think that? Like, I'm going to be the best mom I've ever known, but I don't know how to be. I've never seen it modeled. And so I played house. I moved in with the guy. It worked for a minute. I had my son. His name is Ozzy. It worked for a minute. And when the doctors released me to be free again after 6 weeks after having my son, I went and partied. I went and had fun. I went and slept around. And that just continued the cycle that was before, but as most people in their stories, once they go back to that life, it's 10 times worse. Like, it just, I had the guilt and shame of becoming the one person I didn't want to become, and that was my mom. And so when you're partying with that much guilt and shame, you don't really care what you do or who you do it with. And so the darkness became more dark, and I just began to spiral, and the control that I had over men seemed to be slipping away from me, and I didn't like that. And so one night in May, we went to Memphis in May. I went with some people, and I didn't get what I wanted, and they had a line of meth right there on the table, and I was like, I'm gonna do that. And they told me, like, Jessica, you don't want to do that, like, don't do it. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing it. Like, don't tell me what I'm doing. And so I did meth for the first time in that moment, and it was a feeling like no other. You think anything's fun, but in that first hit, that euphoria, that feeling, that rush, that I felt like I was on top of the world, and I felt like I could solve any problem that I ever had, and it was just amazing. And so I went on this journey of finding that first hit. I went on this journey to get high again. And if you've struggled with drug addiction, you know, like, you're never going to replace that first hit. And within 2 months, I spiraled. Like, I was up 5 days a week. I ate every 3 days. Like, I signed over custody of my son, Ozzy, to his father. The spiral happened so fast. I lost all the weight. I had craters all over my face. But in my darkest moment of drug addiction, I dated the drug dealer. He kept me high in his house as long as I had sex with him. But in my moment of darkness, like, if you straight up asked me, are you a drug addict? I would tell you no. Because denial is such a key part of keeping us hooked in our sin and keeping us hooked in our drug addiction. And, you know, I describe it as a python. Like, it was literally like squeezing the life out of my neck, and I was slowly suffocating. And that's what drug addiction for me was. And I didn't think I was going to make it. The drug dealer pulled a knife on me and was going to kill me because I stole more of his drugs than he wanted me to. But in that moment, all the times I wanted to commit suicide, all the times that I was hopeless, all the times I was empty, all the times I was abandoned and rejected and not wanted and wanted to die and didn't care if I lived or died, in that moment when you're faced with a knife, you start doing some soul searching and think, well, no, I want to live. Like, I don't want to die, you know? And for the first time, you start thinking about your son, and you start thinking about more than just yourself, because it's such a selfish life. Like, we're such selfish beings from day one. I mean, I take a toddler's toy away from them and see what they do. And so I got away from the knife, and I locked myself in the bathroom, and I said, God, if you are real, because I'd been to church. Church didn't save me. I'd been baptized. It didn't save me. I've been done all that, what the world told me to do. It didn't work. But I said, God, if you're real, help me get out of this situation. And the guy immediately left. I called my dad, detoxed. Worst 5 days of my life. Couldn't even walk to the bathroom. I was weak. I mean, it comes from a girl who had to have a line of drugs just to get out of bed. I wanted to quit. Like, I did not want to get sober, but I knew in that moment, like, if I don't get sober, I'm gonna die. And the next year I relapsed a lot. I failed a lot, but so does a toddler learning how to walk. Like, we're gonna fail. We can't let that be our life sentence and stay down. We have to just get back up, try again, get sober again, get clean again. And one time it's going to be your last relapse. One time it's going to be your last detox. One time you're going to be sober forever. And here I am 19 years later. I've been married, happy, 3 more kids. My son, Ozzy, is 21 years old, healthy, happy, working his rear off. Like, I'm just so proud of him. I'm so proud that I did not quit in my sobriety. And I am so proud that I didn't give up on life and searched for a truer meaning. And I wanted to become some different than I'd ever seen in the small town. And that's the journey I went on, to transform from the inside out. And that's exactly what happened. So thank y'all so much for listening to my story. I hope it encourages you. I do have a book out on Amazon, Worth the Pain. My journey from teen to queen and all the ugly in between. I share about my drug addiction. I share about from meth to ministry. My husband and I are church planters in Texarkana, Texas. And I just like to speak the truth. And I hope that I encourage you to not quit, because when it's the darkest is when God's going to grab a hold of you and your life is going to change forever. So stay awesome. Broken crayon still color. Love y'all. Bye.